Hey guys, I'm here with Liz from BDS Analytics. She spoke yesterday at our CBD symposium, so thank you for joining us.
Absolutely, thanks for having me.
Thanks. So for our audience, which is mostly retailers and suppliers for consumer packaged goods, could you give a little overview of BDS Analytics? Let's start over there.
Sure, absolutely. So BDS Analytics is a market research, consumer insights, and market data firm focused exclusively on understanding what's happening in the cannabis and the CBD hemp markets.
Okay, and I'd like a little bit of an overview of what's happening in there, because this is new for a lot of our retailers, and I know a lot of the retailers that we deal with are mass retailers, that some of them are national in scope. So they're kind of new to this whole thing and a little hesitant, so they're hungry for information and about what's happening and what's happening next. So give us a little overview of what's happening in the CBD market.
Yeah, absolutely. And first of all, completely understand how this can be a little bit of a scary market for some to think about dipping their toes into. And that's really what we're, as a firm, here to do, is to help shed some light, share some insights, share information, so that companies such as the national retailers, such as our companies, our clients in CPG and beverage alcohol and pharma and OTC, can really just get a handle on what's happening and what trends are pushing the market. CBD is a pretty interesting market right now. You will see the most CBD sales are coming from direct to consumer and online sales at the moment.
Gotcha.
There are some very small amount of sales happening at general mass retail, very, very small.
Okay.
And then also some sales happening in the natural food space.
Okay, I've seen some, I've talked to a couple of people that, for instance, sell CBD in independent pharmacies.
Yes,
for example,
absolutely.
I have a friend who sells in Jersey, small 1 or 2 store operations. You've seen a lot of that?
Yeah,
Okay.
the independents are typically, I mean, and even when you're taking legality and some of those concerns out of the picture, typically new trends and new product trends start to be incubated in those specialty channels.
Okay.
And what's interesting when you think about the specialty channels, in fact, we've spent a lot of time tracking exactly what's selling through the dispensary channel, which is, of course, cannabis focused. There are some hemp products that sell through dispensary, but it's more looking at the whole plant THC-based cannabis.
Okay.
However, when you look at those dispensaries, what you can do is you can think of those essentially as a specialty retailer. And you can look at the trends that are happening in those retail channels to understand what are consumer preferences, what are consumer behaviors, what are they purchasing, what products, what formulations, what strengths, what messaging is resonating with the current CBD consumer. And while that is admittedly a small portion of the end mass general CBD consumer that we do believe is out there, it's a good indicator of the trends, and it's a good place to really start to understand what's happening right now and how is that going to impact sales 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road.
Gotcha. Okay, so just to be clear for our audience, so you're recommending to kind of keep an eye on what's happening with the dispensaries. We're talking about the dispensaries that sell marijuana products that also sell CBD. So keep an eye on what they're doing as a clue of what's going to happen in the future.
And we're not suggesting that you go and sell through those channels or even purchase from those channels. However, there are some brands out there that have gotten their start within the dispensary channel who are moving into more mainstream channels and moving from whole plant cannabis over into hemp and vice versa. So there's a lot of fluidity.
So it's kind of, from what you're saying, it sounds a little bit like the organic movement, starting out in the specialty shops and then kind of making their way to the point now where mass retailers sell more organic products than these specialty natural sources.
You nailed it. That's exactly right. So it's also like the nutraceutical movement about 25 years ago. We see this happen in trends in just about any industry. So prior to starting BDS Analytics, I actually worked in the outdoor product space, working with retailers, specialty retailers, all the way up to Walmart, and the brands that sold into those spaces. And what we would see is within the specialty channel in that industry, you would see the trends incubated. You'd see that's where the specialty consumer, the enthusiast consumer is shopping, who end up being the influencers and who are influencing then the rest of the general mass population. So it's essentially that same thing that's happening right now with the CBD hemp market.
Okay, and that's where you're collecting your data.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Okay, so based on your data, what are some of the product trends within the CBD market?
Yeah, well, so we actually have a little bit of insight into what's happening in the natural foods channel as well, thanks
Okay.
to our friends over at Spins, who I'm sure many
Perfect,
of your
yeah.
retailers are familiar with.
That's right, they do present at some of
They
our
do,
sessions.
yeah, absolutely, and they actually have detailed sales on the CBD market in the natural food space.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so one of the things that's really interesting is to look at the differences between the product trends in natural foods and dispensary. And one of the major differences is the size of the topicals market. So you see
So like a
in-
cream, a CBD
exactly, anything
creams,
you put on
okay.
your skin,
Yeah.
creams, patches, bath bombs, all the lozenges, those types of things. And what you're seeing is you're seeing more sales from the CBD hemp topicals in natural foods than you are in the dispensary channel. So that's one trend that we actually think is pretty interesting, and that's one of the places where perhaps the natural foods channel is being a little bit of a leading indicator for the dispensary. So sometimes those trends go back and forth. They're
Yeah.
not always a one-way
Okay.
highway. However, in the dispensary channel, what's really interesting is the proliferation of the edibles CBD category.
Okay. And we're talking not the stuff that gets you high.
No, not
the
at all.
CBD.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely, CBD. Whether it's hemp-based or cannabis-based, interestingly enough, the compound is the same. So as long
Okay.
as you're isolating out just the CBD,
Yeah.
you're not going to be focusing on the part that has the psychoactive
Okay.
effects. Now, that being said, within the dispensary channels, you will sometimes find products that mix THC and CBD. Different product category. Wouldn't worry
Okay.
too much about that for this audience.
Yes.
Just good to know and be aware that does exist and that's out there. And even when you're looking at products that sell well within the dispensary channel, even those that have a little bit of THC, I would encourage the retailers to focus more on the product formulation. Is it a gummy? Is it a chocolate-covered espresso bean? Is it a pill? Is it a tincture? What are the strengths of CBD? What are the sizes? What are the price points? There's a lot of information and insights that you can glean from this
Yeah.
data, so long as you sort of get yourself past the squeamishness of
Yes,
looking
yes,
at
and that's a big
THC
hurdle.
product. Of course
That's
it
a
is.
big hurdle. Well,
We understand that.
yeah, speaking of that, looking in the future, 5 years down the road, what do you see happening in the market?
We hope to see CBD products being sold within every retail channel, from mass all the way through drugstore to natural foods. The fascinating thing about this plant, the hemp plant, and the products that are being derived from the hemp plant is they go across just about every product category that you can think of. And it's a very exciting thing to think about, inserting CBD into product categories from pet foods to pills
Yep.
to topicals to tinctures to bug spray to just about any product that your consumers and your clients interact with could potentially benefit from
Yeah.
a CBD infusion.
And they address so many different needs, whether it's stress or
Absolutely.
pain or,
And so,
calming.
and it reaches across so many different consumer groups as well. Of course, in addition to tracking the retail sales, we also pay attention to the consumer trends. And we go out and we talk to the consumers themselves and understand who is the CBD consumer of today
Yeah.
and who is going to be the CBD consumer of tomorrow. And one of the things we found that's very interesting about the current CBD consumer, they're actually skew younger than the general population, which might be a surprise to some folks because typically when folks think about CBD clients or CBD customers, I think we tend to think of an older consumer, someone
Yeah.
who's looking to manage pain, arthritis pain,
Yeah.
those types of aches and pains, those types of things. But in fact, the CBD consumer is a little younger than the general population. They're more active, they're more social.
Or in the case of some more stress prone,
Perhaps, absolutely. So, again, this opens up such an opportunity for whether it be brands looking to develop products in the space or retailers looking to stock their shelves with products just to fit their retail customers' needs. There's so many different customers out there and so many applications and need states and cases. It really does open a really wide wealth of possibilities, and I think it's something that's so exciting that we haven't seen maybe since the internet.
Yeah.
It's really the last time I can really think of an industry that's built from the ground up that has so many applications.
Yeah, I think
to
there's a
so
lot of
many people's
opportunities out
lives.
there. So great opportunities for retailers. A lot of, there's some legal things to
Absolutely.
review and go through, but I think that's why we had the symposium this week, because we want our retailers to kind of get a jump on it. So what's your website in case they want to, check it out
Yeah,
and find some
absolutely. So
information?
bdsanalytics.com is the website, and we have a request for info page, and happy to talk to any of you, whether you be a retailer or a supplier, about what's going on in this space, what you should expect, and For those who are getting ready to dip a toe in, we can certainly help you with that as well.
Great, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay.